Welcome to the D1 Mindset Podcast. I am very excited to finally share this episode with you. We recorded this back in the fall and it's just taken some time. We're kind of doing that whole, all of the series, like the Yellowstone and all of that. We took a little bit of a pause throughout the holidays, but we are back now. And what a better way to start than with this episode. We've got Alyssa Manitzas, Nayeli Gonzalez, and Taylor Anderson on the show. All volleyball players. This is another volleyball episode, but all of them are D1 athletes. They're all attending D1 colleges. Alyssa's attending Notre Dame. Taylor's going to be attending Purdue, and then Nayeli is actually already in Iowa State, and I know all of her friends and family are already missing her, but we're so excited for her. So this episode is all about their experiences, and all three of them are just so different. So it's a wonderful show to listen to because you recognize the fact that all three are amazing players, but no two experiences are alike. No three experiences are alike. They're very different and unique. And so that's just encouragement for anybody who's listening and looking for, how is my daughter going to be looked at in the recruitment process, and what should my process look like? Well, I think it's going to be very much up to you and up to the individual, and it doesn't have to look like somebody else's process. So Alyssa, Taylor, and Nayeli, we're just so thankful that you guys spent time with us on the show and that you're able to share your story with younger athletes and parents of athletes. And we hope that you guys, parents and athletes listening, that you guys are able to take all of that information and just soak it in and allow it to kind of lead you in the right direction in your recruitment process. Thanks for listening.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of D1 Mindset Podcast. We are super excited today because we have some amazing guests on the show.
Yay.
Yes. So we have Nayeli, and all of these, by the way, are from Cornerstone Christian Schools in San Antonio. So we're super honored. Thank you guys for joining us. We've got Nayeli here, Taylor, and Alyssa. You guys, you can say hi.
Oh, hi.
Okay. And of course, we've got D Jackson.
Yay.
On the mic.
And JB, she forgets about herself, but she's here too.
Yes, and I am here as well. We're just very, very thankful that you girls are joining us. So all of these girls have been accepted to D1 schools to play volleyball for the next season, right? Is that right? Okay, I want to make sure y'all correct me if I'm wrong on anything here. And so they actually have already, at this young age, you guys have some wisdom. And, we're just honored to have you guys on the show to be able to share some of that wisdom with younger athletes, or even athletes who, might be the same age, but maybe they're going to start at a D2 school, D3, JUCO, whatever. Like the whole thing, like I was telling you guys before the show, is about a mindset. And so I want to talk to you girls about y'all's mindset and what has brought you here. So again, thank y'all.
Whoa. My girls are in the house. Been with these girls for the last 3 years. I'm so proud of them. Really got to know these girls. But for y'all don't know, we're going to start with Alyssa. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Manitzas. I am committed to play at the University of Notre Dame. I have one brother, his name's Christian, a sister whose name is Nadia, and two amazing parents.
I love how she says amazing. I know them. Tay, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Taylor. I'm committed to Purdue University, and I'm a setter. I have an older sister that also plays volleyball at Bucknell, and I have a cat, and my mom and my dad.
Hi,
Nay.
Nayeli. I'm going to Iowa State University. I am in outside for college, but I was playing middle for high school. I have actually quite a lot of siblings. I have two brothers, one older, one younger. I have 3 sisters, 2 older and 1 younger. And I did have a sister that played in college, but she doesn't anymore. And then I have my 2 great parents.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Thank you. So one of the things we always start off with is, volleyball. Volleyball has been in your heart, I'm sure, since you were younger. Let's talk about some of the things that y'all have done, take your turns, that y'all have done to reach the pinnacle y'all are now. Starting from, I guess when you started, most of y'all started around middle school, started playing. Just a little bit about that.
Oh, me first? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I started in 6th grade. I started at the school at Cornerstone. My sister actually started playing in 8th grade, and I watched her play, and I was like, oh, like, let me try this out. I wasn't very good at 6th grade at all, or 7th grade. It's quite chunky, actually. I started off there, and I was middle for the longest time. I did play club my 6th grade year at Ignite. I started off because my sister was playing there 6th and 7th, and then once Coach Carter came to Cornerstone, he told me I had to play for Alamo, and I was actually going to take a gap year. I wasn't going to play my 8th grade year, and he kind of forced me to play for them, which I'm very grateful for. Yeah. So yeah, I started off in middle school because of my sister, and then I went on through high school as well.
Yeah. Tay?
So my older sister, like, I went to like every single practice in private, and I would be off in the corner and I'd like steal a ball. So like, that's like how I started, but I didn't start like clubs and leagues until like 5th grade, and I did like tots at Alamo, and then I started a club in 6th grade. And I had to beg my mom to put me on the national team because she's like, it's your first year. We're going to put you on the regional team. Like, I don't want you to get burned out. And I cried because I just wanted to be on Premier. And then they let me. My sister convinced them. And, yeah, where I started.
Just so y'all know, her mom is here. So she hears all this going on. Listen.
I started playing volleyball from a really young age, kind of like Taylor. My sister plays volleyball as well. She kind of just inspired me to play the sport, and I went with every practice, and kind of like Taylor, just grabbed a ball and tried to get into the practices, but it never really worked. I tried out for Alamo for about 2 years whenever I was 11, 12, and got told no for my first 2 years. So I played club at Force, and those were really good growth years for me. And going to Alamo, my 13th year, I made Premier, and then ever since then, it kind of just took off from there.
I love that so much because you can sit back and laugh now. Like, yeah, my first 2 years weren't so good, didn't make it. Because I think that there are so many like 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds who are trying out, and the pressure's on. You guys know. I mean, the pressure's been on you guys. Y'all are from a generation where this pressure's already been added on in sports. But you guys, like, we're sitting here because we want this information to go out to parents. There's 11 and 12-year-olds that are like, oh my gosh, I didn't make the team. I should just quit. I should just quit volleyball. And look at you today. I mean, that's already, okay, we're done.
Yeah, good show.
Yeah, good show. All right, everybody, we're done. No, but that's really, really cool information. And by the way, I want to talk about this real fast. Y'all tell everybody in the audience, because they can't see you if they're listening to the podcast, and even if they're watching the podcast, we're sitting down, tell them what your heights are, because I think for all of you guys it's important.
Alyssa's the
but
tallest.
Alyssa already has something that I feel like people are like, yeah, you're that height, like, volleyball's not your game, dude. Right. Go play softball or something, so let's all of y'all share but Alyssa, go ahead.
Yes, so I am all of 5 feet tall.
Is it for real 5 feet?
Yeah,
okay,
on a good
all
day.
Right, because Dee said 4'11".
Some days, quite possibly.
All right, Taylor.
I'm 6'1".
Okay. And I'm 6'2".
Hence the reason she was like middle in, 6th grade. They're like, oh, you're tall. You go to the middle.
That has always been, not to cut Jill off or anything, that has always been, since I've started to follow volleyball, y'all know my daughter, the first thing, oh, you're tall, play middle. You're tall, play middle. And I think that's like, I can equivalent to basketball. If I'm tall, I'm going to play post.
Right.
But now it's like positionless. All three, well, 2 of the 3 of y'all can play anywhere on the front. Taylor can play middle, outside, right side, Nayeli the same. Listen, we know you run the back, so some people are just, make the play back row. But right. It's some things that I think is very important that kids don't understand. Just because you start there doesn't mean you have to finish there. So one of the things I tell anybody that'll listen, just play everything you possibly can. Learn to pass well, learn to hit well, learn to set well, because you never know, where you're going to end up. And with us saying that, I want to start off with Taylor with this question. So Tay, I know that you started off, you wasn't really always a setter. Mm-hmm. So tell me about your journey to become one of the best setters in the country.
So I started off as a middle, and
See what I'm talking about, y'all? See what I'm talking about.
my secret ambition was to be a setter. All my favorite college players were setters, and I just wanted to do that. But I was tall, so I was middle. And 14th year, I started doing little clinics, weekly clinics that are setting just for fun. And then at a Alamo clinic, there was passers, setters, and hitters, but all the setters left, and someone needed to set the hitters. And they're like, "Can anyone set?" I'm like, "I can set." I've been to lessons for the past 3 months, and my club coach, she saw me set at that clinic, so that the next time at practice, she was like, "Taylor, go set." I was like, "Are you
I was
serious?"
very shocked.
And then ever since then, I've been setting, and I just love it so much.
So, little background, because I'm good friends with her parents. So Taylor just gave a little glimpse of how good she was going to be, and then they put her back in the closet, and then she came back out again and set the world on fire. So I'm so proud to see you went with your ambition and stuck with what you want to do. Nayeli, I know everybody wants you to play middle forever and ever and ever, and some of your coaches at Alamo want you to play middle. Tell us about your transition from middle to outside.
So again, I was tall, so I started off as a middle for all of my middle school. 8th grade, I was a middle. I think it was my freshman year that we already had some middles in the high school team, and Coach Carter was like, "You know what? Let's see you on the outside." And I was like, "Okay." And so I hit some balls on the outside, and I was like, "Okay, I'm not that bad." So I kind of transitioned to the outside my freshman year. But I still did some middle. I know I hit some balls, and then I would block in the middle. I think blocking in the middle is one of my fortes. It was kind of hard because of the middle. It's a lot of a faster pace. The outside, you have to wait a lot, find the ball. You get the ball a lot. In the middle, you don't get a ball a lot. You'll probably get it 3 times in 2 games. I think it was kind of hard mentally for me to change it up, because I know I still went to hit some balls in the out, hit some balls in the middle, and I was like, I need to go faster, go slower, and I know I would overrun balls. I still do now, but I think it was also fun because I got to learn how to pass. I think I've been passing for 2 or 3 years now. I could never pass ever, but now I can, and I really appreciate it because it's helped a lot. And I think it was just hard in the beginning, but I think now I've kind of gotten the groove of moving back and forth.
Well, and for all the coaches listening, because this is not just, for athletes and parents, but for also coaches, that's a really good story because, again, I think a lot of times it's like, hey, they're tall, throw them in the middle or whatever. And in your case, it's like, and even you just said it like, oh, I couldn't pass. Well, you hadn't gotten the shot at it. Now it's, hey, you can pass, So I think that's one of the big things, a big takeaway, even from our conversation earlier, just before the show. And even now is you really do have to take the word can't out of your vocabulary if you're going to have a D1 mindset. You cannot just believe that you can't do something.
Right.
You have to keep going after it. And then I know Alyssa.
We know you. Alyssa started off as a hitter.
Yeah.
Then she went to the middle, and then she's like, "I'm too tall for everybody, so I'm actually go in the back row." But let's talk about Alyssa. Alyssa's been passing forever, but a lot of people don't get to see or get to notice unless you watch her play is how much she controls the ball when it's a free ball, when it's how to drop it short, how to throw it deep. That was one thing that I think that a lot of liberos cannot do. Like, if you get a free ball, it's just bump it over and we're going to reset it. Alyssa really tries to put the ball in certain positions. So speak a little bit about that because we know you wasn't hitting. So let's talk about you and your libero skills.
As a libero, you kind of just have to have a super grand amount of court awareness. And the volleyball IQ that I have now has not always been like that. Through the years, I've definitely progressed more in that. But I've never struggled in that aspect of my game. Like, I started off playing softball, so I kind of gained some sort of awareness. And it's kind of the same. You learn situational things, and now it kind of just translated straight into volleyball when I decided to take that route over softball. So just that court awareness has definitely allowed me to provide better opportunities for my teammates and even getting some kills sometimes, like placing a ball where others aren't, because volleyball is traditionally played a certain way, and for free balls, let's say you're taught to throw it to position 1 because that's where the setter comes out of. But once the back row split, you don't necessarily just want to throw it in one spot because everyone does it. So I really try to implement putting it short, throwing it deep, because no one really expects it. So it's kind of fun playing like little mind games on the court, and I don't know, it's kind of fun. It's just
she's
fun.
a firecracker on the court.
Yeah.
Firecracker on the court.
I love that. The whole mind game thing. It's like, well, okay, so let's talk about that for a second. Just how, and I know you said, it hasn't always been that way, but when you were younger, when you first started playing volleyball, I mean, were you just playing back row? I mean, was it like a thing like they're like, okay, this girl's not going to be front row, so let's just throw her in the back? I mean, tell us about that little
She's the same height.
journey. Well, maybe they were like, hey, she's going to grow at some point.
No. I've always been in the back. I mean, I tried to take my fair share of swings from the back row, and they never really succeeded. Maybe 1 out of every 10 swings. So that's always been my thing, is just back row. And
well, and what I love about that is that there's some players that might be listening that they think like you think, but physically they're not where they want to be. And that's big. I mean, I even have personally, my son's going to be mad at me for saying it on the show, but that's my son. Mentally he knows the game, but physically he's not where he would like to be,
right.
Or at the height that he wishes he could be. But that just says a lot. I think coaches look for that too. Like, hey, okay, they're not just hitting the ball the right way or getting digs. Like, they're thinking about the whole game, and they know where everybody's at, on the court, and that's a big deal. So, do you want to take on the next question, or you want me? Because I got a lot of them.
I know you got a lot of them, so let's get Jill's questions
Well,
in.
I know we want to. We've got a limited time. We could probably sit with you guys and learn a whole lot from y'all. So one of the things that we want listeners to learn is we'll start with the recruitment process. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So, you go ahead. You asked the first question.
Okay, so been going through the recruiting process, spoken to all your parents about, the whole recruiting process. What are some of the things that you would tell a younger kid that's starting to get recruited, that's starting to get looked at? We won't go as far as high school, but just like you start getting recruited with your freshman, sophomore year. Mm-hmm. Tay, let's start with you. What are some of the things that you've experienced, goods and bads, about the recruiting process?
And actually, when did you start getting recruited? Each of you can answer that.
Well, I first had a phone call in 8th grade, and that was before all the rules changed. So I had about a month of that. And then with the rule change, coaches could send emails to your club coaches, and your club coaches would send it to you. And so through that time period, you get an idea of some colleges that are looking into, but until June 15th, you don't know, because I had some colleges email me every week during that quiet period, and on June 15th I didn't hear anything from them. And so during that, I just kept my mind, I just was very open. I didn't shy away from anything. I was just really open, I just
Well, you were 8th grade.
Yeah, but
She was 6'2" in 8th grade.
Well, I'm just saying, she's I'm trying to keep my mind open. I'm I hope you're keeping your mind open in 8th grade, because you don't want to oh yeah, this is the first one that sends me a message,
And a big thing for me is I didn't want to make any decisions without seeing the campus, because that's where I'd be for 4 years, and it can be totally different, from pictures online and then being there in the atmosphere, and yeah.
So that's one bit of advice because we're gonna make little mental notes here, and then later even be able to share these out with people. I think that's great. You need to go see the college. And I know all of you guys have now done that, but I think there's a lot of people who they have a dream of, I'm going to go to this school. They've never been to the school. It's way different than what people make it sound like.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Speaking from experience, folks. Let me follow a question today before we go on. Who was very helpful in making your decision, whether it be your parents, your sister, friends? Who did you really turn to? I'm really thinking about this, or I really like this, or what do you think about this?
Definitely my parents, and they let me think on my own. They knew they trusted me to make a decision, and like I knew like they would support me no matter what, and I think that trust really like showed through the process.
It's big.
That is. Nye.
Hi.
So
Repeat the question.
yeah. Can you repeat the question, please? No. So I know, being middle and the outside, saw your recruitment also. Remember your mom up there with the Puerto Rican flag and everything. And I'm wondering, because I watched all y'all when y'all was younger playing for Debbie when y'all was with Alamo. That's when I first really got to see y'all play. Right before we came to Cornerstone. And it looks like that's where y'all really started to bond, really became a team. And that's when you started making your transition from middle to outside. So when you're getting recruited, did you first start to get recruited as a middle, or was it always an outside? And who helped you with your recruitment process?
I actually started to get recruited as a middle my 8th grade year before, like Taylor
Everybody's
said.
8th grade.
Yeah, I actually did have my first call in 8th grade as well. I know as a middle, I got some emails, and they were like, we're very interested in you. I know I got an email about transcripts my 8th grade year, and I was like, okay. It was very new to me. 8th grade year was the first year that I got basically looked at. I'd never experienced that before. It was very new. I didn't know what to do. So I did get looked at as a middle a little bit, and then once I transitioned to outside, I got more views. And I got the emails and everything like that. I'm sorry. I kind of blinked.
It's okay.
What was the second question?
That's
That is
exactly
not
what
Ella, if y'all don't
happens.
know her.
I can't tell you how many times I'm like, and then where am I at right now? So no,
that's it. That's what
it.
I
That
love
was
about it.
And actually, well, see, look, just happened to me right now because I was going to ask you a question. I didn't want to interrupt you. So when you said, you got looked at, and both of you kind of said that. How did they find you guys? Do you know how they were like finding y'all? Like, was there already videos out there? Did the club, tell me about Taylor? You tell me real quick, and then you tell me about yours. Go ahead.
Well, at like club tournaments, they're all the coaches are just walking around, and if you spark their interest, they're gonna stop and watch and look into you, and then reach out to you. So
Okay, cool. And then did you have any videos out there or anything like that yet?
like a few.
Okay, good to know.
I know Alma really helped with Huddle.
Okay.
So they had this one guy, I know he would take videos and then he'd make this video of you
Mr.
hitting
Craig.
he did a great deal of goodness for us. And then I know sports recruits, me and my mom would go and find the videos that she would take, and if it was a good video, we would post it on there. So I just got looked at from there, and like what Taylor said, if a coach sees you, if they'll stop and watch, and then they'll maybe look up your name, and then find you from there.
We're definitely going to talk more about that in just a minute with coaches maybe seeing you at tournaments and just some things to help athletes with. But Alyssa, you go ahead, share. Okay, so what was the question again?
Yeah, I knew she was going to do that, y'all.
What was the question?
So the question is, well, she's always been a libero DS.
Right.
Some of the things, getting to a D1 at the size you are. Some of the things who helped you with your decision-making process, and tell us about your recruiting process.
So my process started in 8th grade as well. Before all the rules changed, we got a few emails, I had a few calls, and literally 2 days before the rule changed, the previous Notre Dame coaches actually made it an effort to come and watch a club practice of ours. And that's when I kind of knew that it was okay, they might actually be into me. And at the time, a little 8th grader, you don't really know what you really want, but it's cool that a coach flew down and came to see you. That gives anyone any sort of comfort. I don't know. That
So
was
I'm just curious, at that practice,
Extra hard.
what did you feel? Yeah, did you mess up any? Tell us the story about that practice.
I remember that I was super thrilled about it, but also super nervous. I'd make a mistake, and then I'd look to Nayeli and be like, oh my gosh, this is so nerve-wracking. And then we did this drill called, we do the acceleration drill, and Coach Debbie makes me go 3 times to show that I can continue to give my effort all out for minutes and minutes at a time. And it was exhausting, and it was just kind of nervous. I was nervous.
So did you feel like you did well?
Oh, yeah, I did have
right.
a good practice.
Oh,
it was
that's
just
great.
like every little mistake, I was like, oh no. But, you know, as the years go by, you kind of just learn to tune that thought out. Like, if I make a mistake, like, they're there to look at my response to the mistake. Like, they don't necessarily care about the mistake you're making. It's how you respond. And
How is your response to some of the things you do, Alyssa? Like, I don't know.
in all honesty, I am a very tough person on myself, and I don't have the best self-talk at all. As much as I preach it to my teammates, I am incredibly hard on myself. I say a good deal of bad words sometimes, and
In your head. In your head.
sometimes that might not happen, but it's something that I kind of have in my head constantly where I'm like, you can't do that. But then
Right.
sometimes it's just natural instinct. Like, you really don't want to mess up. Like, that's sports. You don't want to
Absolutely.
mess up. And it's just my natural instinct because I've just kind of been raised to be a perfectionist. And every time I don't reach that level of perfection, I'm just like, gosh, like, what am I doing with my life? You know, it's just one of those things. But
Well, that
Wait,
is a
hold on.
great transition.
Before
because
you
I'm
go
gonna-
into that.
Yeah, I'm going to ask about this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask
No,
about
no,
this.
because I want to go back to the sports recruiters and the
Oh, yeah,
other
yeah.
stuff.
I know there's a lot to talk about that, but I'm not going to forget about that question
Yeah.
I've got.
So, Tay, as many times as I've seen you, every game you go out, you talk to your dad after the game, you speak to your dad after the game. What is that, like a comfort thing? Is it like a what mistakes did I make kind of thing, or am I mad and I just don't want to curse in front of everybody? Like what is that?
He wants to know your deep conversations with your dad.
I'll be there. So
It's usually just like, what's up? Like, I just finished the game, like, and sometimes he'll tell me like, just keep doing this, you got it. And I'm like, okay, and yeah, that's really it.
So y'all never talk like about what happened actually in the game, whether you messed up or didn't mess up something good or bad.
Not really.
Just what's up? How you doing, Dad?
Yeah.
Glad you're here.
And I will say, those of you that can't see Taylor, and I observe this, you know, just watching you guys play volleyball as a team, you're always smiling. I'm wondering if a coach has ever been like, why are you smiling? You know, like she's just got such, but I love that. If I'm your coach, I know, and I know my players, right? I know their emotions, and I know it's not like a smart aleck smile, but you've just got such a positive attitude. And I think in volleyball, and we'll talk more about this in a minute, but it's so hard because it's going so fast, right? So you make an error, cost your team a point, and you're in a critical time, you can really get down on yourself real fast. And I see Taylor, and like I've seen you make a little mistake here and there, whatever. And Taylor's like, okay. And then like I see this like smile, like not like I don't care smile, but like a smile like, all right, let's move on to the next one. So, and I don't know if you know that about yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. And
My
She's my
teammates
comfort
tell me that all
person.
the time. They'll be like, "Why are you smiling right now?" And I'm like, "I really don't know." And yeah,
But that's cool. I love that because I bet your teammates.
she's my person for that. Like, if I'm in a streak of bad plays, she'll just look at me. She's like, Liz, calm down. Like, it's not that serious. And just kind of reminds me to have fun. And if I need that extra comfort, I just look to her and she gives me
look
my
at her.
high fives. And
Oh,
I'm
she's
just like,
spicy on the court sometimes.
Stressful moments of the game, I look at her, I'm like, okay, Taylor's smiling. So I'm good.
So,
All right.
change the question for Nayeli because I've seen. So you've been such a powerful hitter, outside hitter, and pretty much scoring when the ball's set. How does it make you feel when somebody blocks you or something like that, and
That's a good question.
and they go crazy on the other side, like they just won the Super Bowl? How do you feel about that? Because I watch you, and it's like is she mad or is she going to try to break somebody?
Did they just fuel her up? Like,
yeah.
It's a 50-50. Thing is, if it's a really good girl that she's just like blowing us up, and then I'm trying to hit around her and she keeps blocking me over and over again, I get quite angry because I'm just like, I hold myself to a really high standard, and I'm like, I should be going around her. I was like, why am I not hitting around her? And then if I get blocked and blocked again, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? When we play, not like a lesser team, like when they're not as tall and they block me, I'm just like, wow. I get quite embarrassed sometimes, but it's not like in a rude way. It's in I'm 6'2". I have quite a high vertical, and I'm just like, why are they touching my balls? And then when they get really, really excited, I'm just like, okay, I'll give that to you. Or when it's a really good girl and she like slam blocks me, I'm like, that was good. It's like, you've
gotta give them credit, right?
No, you don't.
Like,
No.
yeah, no. Some of them I'm like, all right, cool. Just wait till the next one.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Because she'll get a block and she'll
Yeah.
get this.
well, I mean, the thing about it is, I think you see younger players your age only, because I watch all ages, and I see younger players your age that get blocked, and they will quit, quit. And I'm like, dude, we're on the first set. Like, we're not even, we're just in the first set. Like, why are you quitting? So I think that's, because it happens so much,
really
at this level of playing that you guys are at. I mean, blocking happens. I mean, that's part of their job, right?
Definitely have
and
to
if
build my mentality with that as well.
Yeah. So, yeah. And you can even talk about that. I mean, I bet that's changed for you over time.
And especially even Taylor's dad, Jarvis. I remember one game he pulled me aside and was like, Nay, when you get blocked, after 2 swings, you start tipping. And he was like, you can't do that. You have to keep going. You have to keep hitting. And then I know he'll help me out at the end, and he'll be like, this was open, that was open. And I think that kind of stuck with me right there when he told me that after 2 points, if I get blocked like twice, I start to tip, like I'm afraid. And I was just like, I can't be afraid. I have to keep pushing. I have to keep hitting harder. And then especially with my mental thing about that, when I was younger, I did shut down very fast. Like, I would get blocked once and I'd want to cry. I'd want to stop playing. I remember telling the setter sometimes, don't set me. And that's not a mentality you should have.
Right.
I think I've done it a couple times these past couple of years. But I'm always working on that. I think everyone will always be working on that because it is a mental game. And I know, like, especially if you have really high standards, or if a coach has really high standards with you and you're not reaching what they want or what you want, it does put a toll on yourself, like on your mindset as well. I know have been times where I just want to be taken off the court. And I was like, I feel like if I can't do it for them, I don't want to be on the court. Or if I'm not doing well, I don't want to be there. But I think with the right people, with the right coaches, and knowing that you can do it, like you said, don't put can't in your vocabulary.
Right.
If you say, like, I can do it, I can't hit over them, use their block, tip over them, like, you can do it. And I think if you always put in your head, like, oh gosh, I can't do that, I suck, I have to be like, no, I don't suck. Like, I can do it, I can hit it, I can tip it. And it's just, that helps as well.
How much self-talk are y'all doing on the court?
A lot.
Like, just to yourself?
A lot.
Like clean words, self.
Oh, not a lot.
Where you don't have to use the beat button. No, but I mean, even then, like, how has that changed? And neither any of you guys can answer this question. Or all of you, how has that changed if you think about let's just talk freshman self. Let's just think about the last 4 years. So freshman self to senior self. How has that self-talk changed, and has it? Right,
So my freshman year, and sometimes still now, like Nay said, like, if I made a mistake, missed a dig, did something and that was preventable, that's in my control, and messed it up, like, I would shut down, want to cry, and just be like, so sad, like, because it's kind of almost like disappointing whenever you don't meet your self expectations. And my dad and I always have this conversation about how the more you talk down on yourself, the more you're never going to, like, rise up to the next standard and the next bar that you want to raise. And going into college, expecting to compete with super high level girls, like, you can't have those practices where you're going to mess up. Like, yes, you're going to mess up, but you can't have the practices where you completely shut down, because then that takes away all your chances of making a mark, like, for the team and doing all of this great stuff that you have plans for. It just never really benefits you. So from freshman year to senior year, I'll still get frustrated with myself because that's natural human instinct. But after I get frustrated, I kind of reflect, like, super quickly, and I'm just like, okay, like, I can do this differently. I can do this differently.
Right.
Like, process the situation. And our club coach last year, Scott Matera, he gave us a really good analogy? No, not I don't know. He called it ERO. Oh, so it was
an acronym.
Former
English teacher.
What was it? So it was event,
Your response and then your outcome.
yes, event, response, outcome. And so you basically just quickly in your mind process what happened, and then how are you going to choose to respond? Am I going to be angry? Am I going to say, okay, next ball, let's go? Because that drastically makes a difference as to the success of the team and your mental success. Like everything's dependent on that, and then the outcome of the decision that you make.
Right.
So that has helped me drastically within just the past year, because even in high school ball, we had one game where I just looked at Nate and I was like, ERO, like we need to ERO right now, because we were down in a super big tournament, super big time. And then after that, we came back 6-7 points and then won the game. Wow. So just something as small as 3 little letters just drastically changes your mindset, and that's helped.
Was that
me
in
a lot.
Volleypalooza?
Arizona, right?
Arizona and volleyball.
Volleypalooza, Cy Ranch.
Yeah,
that was quite.
Yeah.
They're a great team.
And so that ERO, when she looks at you and she says that, what do you respond? What are you saying in your head when she looks at you and tells you that?
I feel like when she tells me that, I just kind of like take everything negative that was in my head out. I feel like it also with club and saying it so much, like we were fighting a ref, he'd be like, ERO, and be like, okay. And like, it's just like
a mental
like
restart.
a little snap and
Yep.
just like focus. And like whenever I hear her say it to me, I'm just like, okay, I have to let that go. Like, especially when we're fighting with coaches. That's one of the big things. So, like, you're really mad at a play. But what thing also Coach Scott would always say is that you can't take away what they already said. Like, if the ref already gives the point to the person, you have to ERO out of it, because you can't force him. You can't be like, hey, do it now.
Right.
Like, you still have to suffer the consequences of losing a point, or them going or maybe winning a set, and you have to go next set.
I can't tell you how many volleyball games I've seen where like, a coach is yelling at a ref, or players are, it's all bad. And then like, for what? Like, I'm like, dude, you still didn't get the point.
Yeah.
And now all your team's mindset's broken.
Yep.
So I love that ERO.
I love it too.
That's
I'm
awesome.
going to use that. Stealing Coach Scott.
Yeah.
Tay-Tay? Sorry.
I think I just want to say a couple of elements here, because I always like to stop. We're about halfway through this podcast. We may end up going a little bit over, but one of the things that I also am hearing you guys talk a lot about is your club. I think that that's really, really critical to, if there's a player who's listening right now, or parents who are listening, it's volleyball, and their child is with a club. Let's just say they're in 6th grade, or maybe they're even thinking of having like a gap year, right, where they don't play. I guess it was, I think with all of y'all, one of the things I'm getting is it was really important that you guys eventually landed at Alamo. I mean, you said you played at Force, which was good in development and everything, and you went back into Alamo, right? And then Taylor, you said you were always at Alamo. Yes. Okay. So how did that club, going back to the recruitment question, did that help in like the overall recruitment process? Like, how did playing for Alamo maybe help you guys? I know you said huddle accounts. Was there anything else that you guys say, hey, this helped a lot with recruitment?
I mean, I think just the name of Alamo has had a reputation of success. Like whenever you think of Dallas, you think of TAV, and they have historically committed a bunch of D1 athletes. So that's proven to have success, and Alamo has historically had success. So I think that's helped a lot. But I mean, they provide the huddle, and our sports recruits, they, initially set us up with it and help us. But ultimately, it's what you want to do with your process. Like after games, if you have the film, you decide to make the videos. If you want coaches to see you, you decide how many emails you want to send before a tournament.
Tell us about the emails.
Yes.
Like, did y'all, and each one of you answer this question, but did you send emails out, Alyssa?
I sent hundreds of emails out, and you kind of select your schools that you're targeting, and you favorite them, and you kind of create a base email and change it a little bit for each school, and add a little bit something different for each one. And before every tournament, I would 60, 70 emails to each school that would be there, because you don't know who's going to be there. But if they're there and they get an email and they receive it from you, and they're interested and you're interested, like you just put yourself out there and you just leave it into the hands of them, and you just know that you put in the work for it.
What about you, Taylor?
Yeah, pretty much the same. My mom, she helped me a lot with the emails. Like, I'd write a message, and then I'd give her the message, and then she'd type it out, and then we'd send it, and we would just send it to everybody, because, like, coaches talk. So say, like, they see, like, Nayeli, and they're like, oh, Nayeli's a really great player, but she's not, like, what we're looking for in my program. Then that coach would be like, hey, are you looking for an outside? There's Nayeli. So, like, even, like, without... Like, through emails, they also talk to each other, so that's, like, another way.
Super helpful information. And what I love about what you just said, too, is parents, like, understand that, and I'm sure, Alyssa, your parents even helped, you know, just getting, like, you don't always know what to say in an email, right?
Yeah, parents definitely help with the verbiage and everything that you say, because what makes sense to your 13-year-old brain, they're like, this doesn't sound
like,
good
it's
to a
always
college
good to
coach.
have an editor, you know. It's like, you guys go in, start the email, but like, have a parent review it, or if you don't have a parent that's able to review it, have a coach review it. You know, I bet you y'all's coaches would have been like, yeah, I'll take a look at your email, just make sure it's appropriate. You know,
But be careful with English teachers though, because they might put verbiage on there like you like, I don't even know what this means, right, Jim?
I'm very judgmental in emails. All right, did you get to send out emails to coaches?
I actually did. I think with the email part, I kind of did it on my own. My parents really gave me a lot of freedom in that. They were like, it's your thing, you do it. And I was just like, okay. I remember sitting in Colorado in my hotel room freaking out because I had a tournament the next day and I still had to send 80 emails. I think also with texting coaches, I know they're not allowed to text you back until your junior year of the June 15th.
Yeah.
You can always reach out off text message. I know I had some friends that were playing the college level, and I'd be like, hey, I'm really interested in your school. Like, will you send me your coach's number? And I'd be like, hey, I'm playing at this time on this court. Would love to see you there. And they cannot text you back. But, I mean, maybe they'll appreciate the extra effort to going and even texting them. I wouldn't say do it to every single coach. But it's a lot of work.
They talk. The coaches do
They
talk.
definitely
They're
talk.
like, this person sends text messages to everybody.
I think that's one good thing about it, because a lot of people think of social media as like a problem. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But I've heard a lot of use with Twitter. We had Mike DeLeon with Prep Dig on here, one of the episodes, and he was like, a lot of coaches use social media in that way. Whereas, like, you have a good highlight or you have a game coming up that's at this school, at their coordinator, or at that person. Is that something that y'all used at the time, or was it not really prevalent using social media as a form of getting in touch with coaches?
I didn't really use Twitter. Like, it's just like a scary app, because I feel like
I use Twitter.
they can see like everything you like, everything you comment, and then I'm like, this can go on like anyone's timeline. I'm like, I don't know who's seen it, so I didn't like Twitter that much.
I actually, so whenever the rules changed and COVID happened, I actually made an Instagram account strictly for volleyball to show coaches my workouts, my volleyball routine, like everything that I was doing. And I see that's more common now with the younger classes. Even in Alamo, like a lot of girls are making, you know, first and last name volleyball accounts, class of 2020 something, you know?
Right.
And that for me was very beneficial. The coach that had recruited me, once June 15th of my junior year had approached, he mentioned that was the one thing that stood out about me, was that I constantly posted and showed my hard work. And it's not for everyone. Like, you don't have to constantly show your work, but that's what worked for me, because someone my size, like, you're going to have to prove yourself a little bit more than someone that's above 6 foot per se. And even 5'5" is my position.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just me as a person, you know, always working hard for what I want, like doing the extra things because I need everything going in my favor. And if I can control it, I'm going to do it.
Were you posting like workouts and games, or like,
so
like, everybody needs to go check out Alyssa's Instagram?
it's actually private. I haven't used it in a little bit, just
Because I'm done already.
I probably should still keep up with it, but it just hasn't been much of a necessity, because I'll send it directly to my coaches, like some game film, and they can find it on Huddle if they want to. But I mean, I would just post workouts and I would edit them. Like, I would take video of an hour and a half long workout and cut it out and then just kind of show a clip of it and then write my workout at the end and kind of just write the reps and sets and do everything. And sometimes I do a voiceover because my dad would encourage me to step out of my comfort zone. He was like, well, you're going to have to get used to talking sometimes. So might as well do it whenever you have 80 followers and then So, and then once game film started happening after COVID started dying down a little bit, then I started posting a little bit more game film, but it was more workouts at the time.
I love that. I love that because a lot of people don't know about all the work that goes behind the process. I actually call it the Steph Curry effect. What I mean by that is a lot of people see what he does on the court now compared to what work he puts in before. Like you're saying, post workouts, kids, get out there and be seen. Don't be scared to talk to people, send emails. One of the things I do love about these girls is all of y'all work hard, right? All the extra work that nobody gets to see. They just get to see what you see on the court, the finished product. But if you was to encourage, Alyssa, start with you. If you was to encourage a young girl, your height, your size, what kind of things would you tell her to post on her volleyball social media? Not necessarily other things, but her volleyball social media that you want her to post to send to coaches.
So in my position, it's super critical to have super good lateral speed and being able to, have really good reactions. So if I were to encourage someone, I would say have intent whenever you're doing your shuffles and everything. Like I would say working on lateral speed, sprinting. I have a Vertimax at my house and doing split squats and split jumps, like stuff like that. Even doing shuffles off the side of the Vertimax. That was kind of the main thing that I usually focused on. And I also I also included, just little ball control drills that I would do. One of my favorite ones, you literally just need a cone and a tennis ball. And I would just show the 10 seconds of me doing the little things. And I still do those cones every day. Like that has become a staple for me in my game. And sometimes whenever I forget to do it or I lose sight of some things and my dad kind of has to bring me back in. He's like, well, have you done this? Like, how are you expecting your game to stay at this level if you're not keeping up with it? It's kind of routine. Exactly. Yeah. So I would just encourage that. The position is all based on speed and even reaction drills. Reaction drills are super huge.
I love it.
I like that too. Tay, so since my daughter also plays setter, she played under you, she really looked up to you, her growing time at Cornerstone. Some of the things that I'm so amazed by is how you place the ball on scoring from just not hitting, scoring from a setting position where pushing the ball to the corner, tipping the ball over. Is that something that you've included in like your workouts, your drills, or just do you study film? Like, how do you get to see those things?
I do lessons with Scott, and after every lessons, we do 5 minutes of working on dumps, short and deep. And then I do watching film of other teams just because whenever I get a dump, I'm like, oh, you suck. In my head, I got you. And so those kind of feelings, I feel dumps are can be big momentum changers. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I feel if you get dumped on, it's going downhill.
Man, Taylor.
So that's what I like.
I'd never seen this feisty part of you.
I told you it's there. But tell me about pushing to the corner, because that's an art. We've scored so many times by you just pushing to the corner. I don't know if it's because you're 6'8" or because you see over the court. What do you see that causes you? Because I've seen you literally do it 5 times in a row, and it's happened.
Well, sometimes I just get a feeling, and I'm just gonna push it deep because I don't think they're gonna get it. And yeah, I don't know. It's just a feeling.
Okay.
I can't explain it. I just do it.
I cannot explain this.
No one's there. And then we all know that you jump out the gym, hit the ball hard. So
dude, tell us about your hitting. Man, what are you thinking when you go up and
everybody.
Slam it? You scare me. I'm in the stands and I'm like, dude, I don't want to hit that ball. Do you hit it against her in practice sometimes?
Yeah, actually. And then like
good
before
stuff.
games, we'll go on the side and I'll hit to her.
Yeah.
When I'm hitting, I just know when I'm gonna get a good ball, it feels like slow motion. Like I'm in the air for like a good couple seconds, and I just feel like I'm soaring. I don't know how to explain it. It's just when I know I'm about to like smash the ball, I'm up there and everything is just slow. I see the ball coming. And I've told Carter this many times. It's just like, it just feels slow. And then I hit it and I'm like, boom. I'm like, yeah, I felt that one.
Right. Like a good golf swing.
So since this year I was playing middle a lot more than outside, I have to tell myself to wait a lot right before I start to transition to hit. I'll maybe take a little extra step or I'll stop myself. But when I stop myself, I lose a bit of momentum to jump. I just have to like think when it hits Taylor's hands, then go. Or when it leaves her hands a little bit, then go. It depends on what we're calling to hit. But I just feel like I need to, when I'm hitting, I'm like, okay, slow, then fast, then reach. And then I try to look for the hands. Sometimes I don't look and I get blocked. But I like to be up there and see where their hands are. Like if I can hit it cut or if I hit it like down the line. It also helps when Alyssa's back there and she'll be like, go line. And I'll be like, okay.
Oh, she yells it too.
I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that the center's like the QB of the game, which, you know,
She really is.
I definitely hear that. But like what I love about all of y'all is that all of you guys are doing, there's a lot of thought process happening where people just see the action. They don't understand all of the brain, you know, the thought that you're like in that moment thinking.
The trust.
So I hear it from you. I hear it from all of y'all. I love that. Okay, I'm going to switch gears here just a little bit because I know, you know, again, I knew that this one was going to run a little bit over, but I want to talk about outside of the game of volleyball. So all of you guys have, you know, gotten to this point in your career, which is super exciting. And you guys still have a long way to go. Now, if you're talking to younger athletes, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, what are some of the big mistakes that you would warn them about, that you would warn them against?
I would say be careful with the people you surround yourself with. If you know they're not a good influence or they're doing bad things, currently like they're
Have a reputation of being.
Yeah, we'll say that.
Right.
If it keeps going, like do not put yourself with them. Do not associate with them. They may be your best friend, but you really have to put yourself first. You want to make smart decisions of where you're going. You don't want to be somewhere and they post something and you're in the background. It'll be guilty association. Like I know people have lost scholarships from just being at a big event. And they're not even doing anything, but the people that are there are, and you're there. So if they see that like pictures, you're gonna get in trouble. And just be really aware of where you're going, what the people next to you are doing, who your friends are. It's just, you just gotta think outside the box, really. I mean, if our friends are like, let's go here, just be like, okay, what are the consequences and what are good? If the consequences are way overbearing, like the good, then do not go.
So it's kind of like one of those things, like you're thinking in the game, you know, with all of this deep thought, and it's almost like, though, even on your off time, you guys have to be thinking about
Absolutely.
how's this game gonna go. You know, I'm talking about just the game of life. You know, if I do this or do that. Free time for you guys, I'm just curious, what does that consist of?
Sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah, we do a lot of sleeping. I enjoy spending time with my family. I do have a boyfriend, so I hang out with him.
We're going to talk about that, y'all.
Yeah, let's get about the next question.
So my dad kind of reels me back in sometimes whenever I want to go spend 2 extra days with my boyfriend, and he's like, really, like, you want to spend time, but you're complaining about being tired. Like, you really have to sacrifice one thing if you're trying to reach a big goal of doing another. So, I mean, off time really is either family time, catching up on homework, and making sure that all of that is up to par, because with the school that I'm going to, I have to maintain such a high academic standing, and if I don't, then I risk the possibility of potentially not being able to be accepted, because they look at my grades all the way through the year, and it's not like most universities where once you get accepted, you can kind of take a breath. Like, they're like, no, like, you have to maintain a certain GPA, certain grade point. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we got sleeping, hanging out with family, and your boyfriend. Taylor, what are you doing? Anything different?
No,
Eating
maybe
Chick-fil-A.
like,
Every Friday.
I like baking sometimes.
Yeah.
I like making cookies.
Good cookies.
What kind of cookies?
Chocolate chip, peanut butter chip, oatmeal cookies.
So I want y'all to know Taylor will be making cookies. Chocolate chip with walnuts in them. So we'll be expecting that. Why not?
No,
She likes the oats in them. That's good.
Oh.
I don't like nuts in my cookies.
No.
Ruins the texture.
Yeah.
So moving on, Jill, next question.
Well, and then tell us, what are you doing in your free time?
I sleep or hang out with my sister because she just came home. I do have a boyfriend as well, but he's in college, so whenever he comes home for the weekends, I hang out with him. I sleep a lot. I really do. Because I wake up so early for school, and then on Sundays I have church, so I have to wake up early too. So on like the Friday to Saturday, I sleep good on Saturday. I try and get as much, and I know I'll come home from school and I'll take a good 2-hour nap.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask the question because Dee is so curious as a dad. And I have my own thoughts on it just as a female. And, I was an athlete just like you guys. And I had a whole thing
That's
with
another story.
boyfriends and all that. So, listening, if you guys are older, senior athletes, if you're talking to a younger athlete, how do you even have time for a boyfriend in this? I mean, what would you tell a younger athlete? Like, if they're like, hey, I want to have a boyfriend. I'm a volleyball player, softball player, whatever. They can play whatever sport. How do you balance having a boyfriend and also having the passion that you guys have for your sport?
I would personally say, like, first you need to kind of make sure that you are comfortable within yourself and what you do so that you're not constantly seeking the other person's validation. So I think that's like one main thing that I would tell younger kids, like, before you commit yourself to anything, like, you need to make sure that you're secure in yourself. And I would also encourage kids, if they're going to have a relationship, like, and you have big goals, like, make it known to the person that you're trying to, pursue a relationship with, like, hey, these are my goals, and if you can't meet me where I'm at and encourage me and support me to be better, and you encourage me to, reach my goals and more, then you kind of just need to give them that heads up. And if they, in the end, decide, or even in the beginning, that it's not for them or they can't, uphold that for you, then so be it. But, I mean, managing a boyfriend, you just... As everyone says, like, communication. Like, communication's the biggest thing. Like, let's say you're going to practice. Like, hey, I have practice, like, this time, and I'll text you after. So that once you're stepping in the gym, like, they're not your priority.
Right.
Like, you need to be able to mentally disassociate yourself from your relationship and volleyball. And sometimes I'm guilty of it. Like,
I was going to say, is that hard? like, when you, let's say you get in a fight.
An argument, right? Correct. Yeah. Okay. So some days I'll just walk in and I'm just so frustrated, and kind of carries on to, just how angry I am, and every little mistake I'm like, God, like, this, I just can't seem to get myself out of it. So that's constant growth, and something that I constantly try to work on. But I mean, it is difficult to handle at times.
Nay.
I've had a boyfriend not in a bad way, my whole high school career. So I know I had a boyfriend my first 2 years, and then my last 2 I've had a boyfriend. So I've only ever had 2. So
Put your beat out there.
I think having a boyfriend while you are playing a sport, I feel personally they need to have the same mindset as you. Like, I feel like if you're an athlete, and I'm not saying you should or you need to, but I feel like it would help as well to be dating another athlete because they usually have the same mindset as you. My boyfriend, he plays baseball, and he's playing collegiate baseball right now. So I feel like with the times, like, obviously you're going to have a practice and they're going to have a practice maybe right after you finish. And what Alyssa said, like, communication. You really need to have communication on, like, practice schedules, games, because in reality, you're not really going to see them that much because y'all are both very busy. And I feel like y'all need to tell each other y'all's goals and what y'all want to do. And if the person you are with is taking away from what you're trying to be or what you're trying to get to, then they're not for you.
Right.
Because someone that's going to be for you is going to want to push you to be your best. Is going to be respectful, be okay, and be happy for everything you're accomplishing. And they're going to want you to keep pushing. And I also feel like with you, if you want to go to the collegiate level, don't make your decision on your significant other.
Lord, don't do it.
I know with me and my boyfriend, when we started talking about college, I told him, I was like, I will not be following you and you will not be following me.
Right.
I was like, I'm going to go to the school that I feel is fit for me and you're going to go to the same for you.
Right.
And I said, I will never follow someone because I feel like if I were to follow someone and I don't like it or something happens, chances are you're not going to stay with them.
I agree. No, I agree. I'm not following you. He's not following me.
If you go to college that your significant other is, and like say you want to play volleyball at a different one, but you're like, oh, like I want to be with him. You choose to go there. They love you. You go there. Y'all break up. That's going to be miserable. Imagine going around the hallway seeing them with another girl.
Right.
Terrible.
And then you made
Not
your
good.
whole
You shoot yourself in the foot.
Right. And you
by-
can't really leave.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah, we're.
I want to know Taylor, what about you?
I don't settle for anything less. So I have high standards. So.
She really does.
Have you had a boyfriend while you're okay? So you're just focused on volleyball, which I have to say, I mean, either way, I think what's cool about that, Taylor, though, I feel like so many girls are like, I have to have a boyfriend,
really
in
do.
high school or something, and I'm like, and I know I've talked to a number of girls, 9th grade, because I've got a daughter who's in 9th grade, and some were like, I just don't care, and I'm like, well, you don't have to then, there's no pressure, like and I loved what you said, and it's the same thing what you're talking about here is knowing that, well, number one, your identity is not in volleyball, it's not in a boy, and I think for you, all three of you guys coming from a Christian school, and it's something that we talk about in a separate episode, is knowing that your identity is probably for you guys also in Christ.
Yep.
So I think it's really important to know who you are, though. What is your identity? And I hope for everybody listening, it's not their sport, because even your sport eventually could break your heart.
Right.
So you have to be careful on that. So actually that brings me to my next and probably one of the end questions, although Dee, you're going to have your own final questions.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. See, I told you it happens to me too. Hold on, I gotta pull up my questions here. I've got a lot of, well, it's because I have too many good ones. Here it is. Now that you guys are at this level, like you've overcome a bunch of fears. Do you have any fears, any greatest fears going into your college sport?
I think one of my greatest fears is not being good enough. My whole high school career, I've been not in like a cocky or like
The top dog.
Yeah,
Right?
I've really been like the go-to. I've gotten a lot of articles. I've gotten a lot of spotlight, and I feel like, which I know it's gonna happen, that once I get to college, it's not gonna be like nay everything. It starts completely over, and I feel like I'm not gonna meet the expectations that they want, and I think that's also something with like my mental talk that I need to tell myself that I can be what they want, and that I don't need to be really that much like afraid that I'm not gonna succeed or be good, because everyone is good. Once you hit college, like you're good no matter what, and obviously there's always going to be someone better than you.
Yes.
Always, and that just means work harder. And that's one of my fears, to just not be good enough, and I just don't want that to bring me down.
That fear really doesn't ever kind of end. I think there's a lot of young players who are like, oh, I'm not good enough to get into the college I want. It's just, so those are one of those things, but I love what you just said. You have to talk yourself, you have to get in the right mindset. Like, no, I am going to be what they want, So I love that. Taylor, what's any fear that you have?
I don't really have any fears. I just
I want to be Taylor.
like know that like when I go to college, it's like a fresh start, just to be me and to show like I'm there for a reason. So I don't really have any fears.
Gosh,
Yeah.
everybody needs to be Taylor. She smiles. She doesn't worry about the boys, and she has no fears. And she's a D1 setter.
She is.
Alyssa, what you got?
I think my biggest fear is really just moving so far away from home.
Yeah.
home is all I've ever known. You know, I've lived in San Antonio my whole life, and then moving to Indiana is just going to be a huge change. So cold. I went up a few weeks ago, and I'm still defrosting, and it really wasn't even the peak of coldness. So I was like, gosh, like, this is scary because it's a whole new adventure in life. In the volleyball side of things, as a competitor, I'm expecting myself to, you know, give, you know, other girls a challenge and compete for a spot, because although it's not common for a freshman to be a starter, especially in my position, that's my goal. Like, beat out someone to get court time, because that's how my dad has raised me, and I've always been super ambitious, and, you know, if you want something, go get it. But I also kind of fear that if that doesn't happen for me, that mentally and internally I'll be like, oh, like, yes, I know that this is a completely different level of volleyball, but I know I'm good enough to be there, but why am I not playing?
Right.
So I can control what I can control, and, you know, work hard for what I want, push myself every day in off season. And if sophomore year is the time where I get to shine, like, let it be sophomore year, but my goal and intent would be freshman year, and that kind of scares me but motivates me.
I love that. I love that big goal, you know? And like you said, it's like, okay, well, goals are, we talk about this also in several episodes, and it's also on our websites. You know, your goals are what you call your your athletic success. You know, what is athletic success for you? And you just said it. It's going to be, I want to start freshman year, or I want to beat out, you know, a player my freshman year. That's how you set a goal. And why shouldn't we set those goals? Right. You know, people might say that's unattainable. Like, who says so? I mean, but that's something I think it's kind of been a theme for your life. You know, hey, you're 5 foot. Like, you're going to play D1 volleyball.
She's not 5 foot.
4'11", whatever. You know, but that's a theme of your life, and I love that, man. That's awesome. Do you got your final questions?
I want to ask this one question, and then we're gonna do a little bit of individual, and then that time we'll do some of our final questions. But one of my biggest questions, because I went through this, being a D1 athlete, as I know, long time ago. Don't say nothing, Jan. I can hear you over there. But you all talked about going so far away from home, right? So I only went as far as Lubbock, Texas, to Texas Tech. One of the things that really got to me when I was there, and I don't know if you thought about this, is homesickness. Everybody thinks they know, like, I'm not at home that much anyway, and this and that. But homesickness is real. So with that being said, your mentality. We talk about your big goals. Do you ever think about, okay, home is all I know. My mom and my dad, they're my comfort zone. My mom and my dad, my brothers and sisters are there. That's my comfort zone. Do you ever think about, okay, what it's going to be like when they're not there? The depression that comes over you, the things that you think about, like the crying that you would do the first week of school, because I've been through it. And I thought I was super tough. And I was like, I'm sitting here crying because I can't go home.
Yeah.
So speak on that. I know y'all getting teary-eyed just thinking about it. Right? Well, not Taylor, because Taylor smiles. But I mean, tell me what comes to mind when you think about, going away. Give me like a quick 30, 45 seconds of what comes to mind.
I mean, I talk to Taylor about this and Nayeli about how it's just, I fear it. Okay. And I told Taylor literally last week, I was like, when I move up there, I'll probably be super sad and depressed. And I've talked to a few freshmen, even girls that have gone through college athletics, and even just being away from home is super hard on the heart and the mind. Mm-hmm. And the girls were just like, yeah, I cried every day my freshman year. It's just something that happens, right. And you just kind of have to find your people where you're at and kind of have a safe space. But I mean, I'm hoping I'm not crying every day, but I know that I'm going to be super sad, and volleyball will keep me occupied, but it can only keep me occupied for so long. And you just had to, I don't know. I
just think about back when D was playing D1 sports. That was before we had cameras and stuff. So
she would not disrespect me like that.
No, but I mean, seriously though, I know it's gonna be hard, and FaceTiming is nothing like the reality, you know, being there. But you know, it is kind of one of the comforts, you know. And actually, do you think you'll be calling them?
So I'll be close to Taylor, and we've kind of talked about like maybe meeting one day, like if we both need it. Like we're only 2.5 hours away from each other, which kind of feels nice because like having someone from home be so close to me is kind of just like,
That's cool.
Okay, like this shouldn't be the worst thing in the world, you know? Like I just know that one of my best friends is 2.5 hours away from me, and it might not always be like the easiest, you know, travel to get there, or I won't be able to have my car first semester of college.
Right.
So that would be difficult in its own, but you know, just
She's
taking
there,
every
though.
opportunity, like
Right.
knowing she's there is enough comfort.
That's cool. That's cool.
Tay,
Um,
she might cry, y'all. She might cry.
well, like my sister, she goes to college in Pennsylvania, and like she's doing it out there. So I know like if she can handle it, I can handle it.
Yeah.
Because I mean I've looked up to her for like ever,
Mhm.
and my parents, they always tell me like, we're gonna come to all your matches. You know that? I'm like, yeah, I know that. And so
awesome.
They'll probably visit me like every month. So
But you don't think that you will cry when you get there your first week or two, knowing that you just can't go downstairs or go around the corner?
if I go downstairs, there's Chick-fil-A, so at the dorm room. But I'll obviously miss them.
Yeah.
But they're just phone call away, and they'll visit me every month.
Lucky.
Yeah, I know you. I know you're gonna
I
cry.
want to be Taylor. I'm like an emotional like mess all the time, and I'm like, gosh, I need to be Taylor. You're gonna be my inspiration for everything in life. What do you think?
She gonna cry now.
Yeah, you say I'm gonna cry makes me tear up. I don't know. I'm gonna be in Iowa, very far,
Yes.
15-hour drive. I think it's really gonna take a big toll on me. I know when I committed on the flight back, I was sitting next to my little brother Isaac, and he just turned 8 like a couple months ago.
Guy.
Ooh,
She's gonna make me cry.
There's no crying on the show.
I remember looking down at him, being like, "When I come back home, you're not gonna be this little." And like, it made me sad because I was like, I know I'm gonna be missing out on like his younger years, and like it also like makes me sad knowing that, because I have a lot of older siblings, and I know like me and my little sister Amber, we're not very close, but I know like we've had more time together. But I feel like since Isaac is so little, I don't want him to like forget about me in a way. Oh, and
Okay, we're gonna change the subject. No, I'm kidding.
I actually have cried a lot about this, especially since I'm leaving in January, so I'm leaving so early.
Yeah.
And I've sent Alyssa videos of me crying, and I know I've had like big FOMO, the fear of missing out. Like, I'm possibly not gonna be able to go to senior trip or like the senior things.
Right.
I know I'm gonna be able to come back for graduation and walk the stage with all my friends, but I like prom or like the things they do like senior year at the end, and it makes me sad. And I know I've cried in my bed so many times, and I'm just like, I know when I'm in Iowa, I don't have any family there. I don't have any friends, not as of right now.
Right.
And I feel like once I get there, I don't know why I do this, but I envision myself like in my bed crying and like looking
Don't
at people's
envision
stories.
that.
On Snapchat, like looking
What's
at
it?
their private
Hero?
stories. Seeing them like all hanging out, and I'm just like, I'm over here suffering in Iowa when I like if I could have just stayed a couple it's
She's
be
suffering.
freezing.
She's getting ready for season, but she's suffering.
I'm just thinking like I could have stayed here and like felt really, and I'm so scared of people forgetting about me. Like I've known like so many people that have gone to play college level, and like we barely talk anymore. And I used to be best friends with them, like spending every day with them. And I'm just like, it just hurts me so bad to think like people won't think about me. And like not in a way like I don't want to be in everyone's minds, but I don't want to be like,
Remember her?
Yeah. Like it just makes me sad because I feel like my whole life I've just been like everything volleyball. People know me because volleyball. People want to be my friend because volleyball. And I feel like this year I finally like found my set people, like people that actually like want to be like my friends for me and like love me for me. And like it's not just volleyball based. And I feel like now that I finally got it, I'm losing it so soon. Like I'm literally gone in 2 months.
Yeah.
And my head cannot wrap around that.
Yeah.
And that's really
hard.
scary. And
Well, and I think even him asking you the question, that whole, and you saying it, it's one of those things that you really are going to have to like prepare for and change the mindset. You're going to have to adopt Taylor's mindset, which is, just so much easier said than done. But, if you truly believe that God has a purpose for you in going in all of this, and, this extends past even the show, but, you go with those intentions and those hopes and like you envision all of the opportunities that this is going to even, catapult your career in not just volleyball, but I know you want to be a veterinarian, right? So there's going to be so many opportunities that you're going to get from that, but it doesn't make it less hard in those first few, I don't know how many months, you know?
Yeah, it's until the season start, it's hard.
Yeah.
I think I'll be back in March though for spring break.
Yeah.
So I know I'll be back within.
And you look up,
It's not as bad as I make it sound, but it does happen.
Yeah.
So it's just something that I like to tell, especially when you go away. Like it's going to happen. Everybody thinks like I've been going out with my friends so long, and it's not going to be different. It's just that comfort level. But once you get past that first couple of weeks and the season starts, by the time you're a sophomore, you don't even want to come home. You're like, go home for what? And so you got your friends there, and I always say if people are real to you, stick with them through college. I think I got about 3 or 4 friends, because I have people, acquaintances like you say, but I have 3 or 4 friends. Like if something happened, I know I can call. If I go to jail, I know I can call Jarvis and he'll get me out. But that's what I mean when I say, that's why I asked you that question, because you got the bonds that you build here, especially as long as y'all's group has been together the longest at Alamo. So the bonds that you built, don't let those just go away because you went to school, because you're going to need somebody that's going through what you're going through to depend on.